straight from Boston. It's Founder Thought, the show that has everything from advice, ideas, and inspiration from founders and business owners that made it all happen.
On this episode, Stefanie and Oz speak with Katy Flannery, co-founder of Beckon Ice Cream, a crave-worthy premium ice cream that is unbelievably delicious and surprisingly lactose-free.
All right, well, welcome to Founder Thought. Today we're here with Katy Flannery. So Katy, first off, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
My name is Katy Flannery. I'm the co-founder of Beckon. We're a premium real dairy lactose-free ice cream brand. And we started the company because I'm super lactose intolerant. I'm from the Boston area, and who here doesn't love ice cream? And so wanted to be able to have a treat that I was excited to indulge again, and that my friends and family would too.
Amazing. So, yeah, of course, ice cream. Hello. It's
Yeah.
it's besides pizza, it's definitely my second best thing ever in the world. So, yeah, it's amazing. So that's great that you allow people to be able to enjoy it again.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
I am from Massachusetts. I grew up in North Attleboro, which is south of the city. And I used to be a nurse prior to starting Beckon with my co-founder, Gwen. I was a pediatric ICU nurse at Children's here in Boston.
Amazing. And so you met Gwen in the school?
Yes.
So she is also a nurse?
Gwen actually isn't a nurse. She was studying business. So we were just friends in college and, have a shared love for food. And actually, Villanova's in the Final Four this week, so go Cats.
Nice.
Yes. Have to give them a plug.
Amazing. So what is your favorite food?
Obviously, ice cream.
Ice cream,
Yeah,
okay.
ice cream. And then followed up by probably grilled cheese. I know it's super simple, but I love grilled cheese.
Yeah. It's a pretty good classic.
Yeah.
You can't really mess with like cheese and bread. Like pizza's my favorite, absolutely, of all time.
100%.
So, cheese and bread, it's
And so having a life without that
a
was
go-to.
unfathomable.
So what inspires you in life?
Would you say?
Inspire you in life?
What inspires you?
What inspires me? That's a loaded question. I guess what inspires me is that I have always wanted to do something. You never know how much time you're going to get,
Sure.
right? And so I've always, ever since I was little, wanted to feel like I didn't waste my shot in life. And so that's, again, that's really a loaded question because there's multiple ways to feel whole. And so career is one of them, family, friends, just wanting to see the world and just want to take in as much of it as I possibly can while I have a chance to be here and leave it maybe with something better, maybe ice cream, who knows, but just want to try to leave it better than when I got here.
Okay, so
Amazing.
now when you came with the business idea, what inspired you to start the business and how you came up with the idea? Like when you met Gwen, hey Gwen, I have a problem, let's start. So how the whole idea came together?
Yeah, so it came from my personal need.
Sure.
My family loves ice cream. Every night, pretty much growing up before going to bed, we would always have ice cream. It was like it was like our nightcap, right? And as I started to get older, started to realize that I was lactose intolerant and couldn't indulge in my favorite treat anymore. And not only just for myself, but I wasn't really able to indulge with my friends and family. And so that started around when I was in high school. And then when I went to college and you're eating in the dining halls for the first time, and all this food that you didn't prepare, so I didn't really know what was going into it, started to realize that there was foods that just weren't sitting well with me, and went on a personal food journey to try to discover what made me feel best. And in that journey found that lactose-free dairy worked really well for me. And so there's lactose-free milk and there's lactose-free yogurt and these great products out there. But in the ice cream aisle, it's the super medicinal stigmatizing brand that I'm sure everybody knows. And it has corn syrup and xanthan gum and guar gum, and nobody wants to eat it, right? I don't even want to eat it, even though I had to. And then the dairy-free alternatives, more than a decade ago, there really weren't as many as there are now. But even though there are more now, the taste and textural experience is wildly different. And I found that no matter what, even today, if I brought those options, the dairy-free or the super stigmatizing lactose-free brand to the table, they're always viewed as an alternative. And so I didn't want to miss out on my favorite treat and to miss out on the experience with people who I wanted to just have a joyous experience with and have ice cream. So that's why we created Beckon. It's traditional premium ice cream all the same ingredients that you know and love: cream, milk, sugar, egg yolks, and we add in the lactase enzyme to make it lactose-free, so you never know the difference.
So now,
Amazing.
So let's go back about that decision, because I don't think it's an easy decision to make those jump from like nursing to, okay, I'm gonna open my own my business. So how this came together? How you guys how you guys came up with, like, jumping from me to here?
Yeah, so it you guys are entrepreneurs, sometimes you just get that itch, right? And it just like no matter what won't go away. And so I was being a nurse full time is usually 3 12-hour shifts. So I had all this time in between to kind of think about and tinker with recipes and, again, make it for myself at first. And I used to joke in college, like, one day I'll make the best lactose-free ice cream there ever was, because I would make my friends like taste test different products. Yep. And so Gwen and I were at a reunion a couple years after we had graduated. She was living in New York working at L'Oreal as a brand manager at the time. And I said it again, and I had finally come up with the recipe. I was like, I think you guys would really like it. And she was like, we just got to do this. Like, you've been talking about this for a really long time. And then that started the process of, how big is the market? What would this business look like? How do we want to solve this problem for others? And so that was the inspiration and how we got started. But to your point, it's a long journey, right? It didn't
because it's not an easy decision to make.
No.
So you were working full-time nurse.
Yes.
Okay, and she was working in New York, and you guys decided to open a business together. So now, before we jump in and actually start discussing, you said you have a background in science. So why this is important for what you do? Because I want just to see how connections are.
Yeah, so nursing, I have a bachelor's in science in nursing. Sure. And so in that education, you have to take chemistry and anatomy and like farm classes. And so I utilized that knowledge of, kind of chemistry, I guess. Food is chem. And so I utilized that knowledge to be able to make sure that the recipe and the end product tasted just like a traditional premium ice cream. And so, especially when you're taking a liquid, your base mix, to a solid, there are molecular changes that are happening. And so I had to employ my understanding of what was happening throughout that process to make sure that Beckon, when any customer has it, it tastes like traditional premium creamy ice cream.
Okay,
Amazing.
So now you develop it.
Yes.
You develop it. So did you get anybody opinion? Did you share with different people? Did somebody hit, or you came up with the whole thing by yourself?
So came up with the recipes by myself, and then I went to the Penn State ice cream short course, which Ben & Jerry and Jenny's and like all of the ice cream companies pretty much ever have gone through that course, and it's a week-long intensive. And so that allowed me the opportunity, and this is when Gwen and I had like started in the background thinking, okay, maybe we're gonna do this. And I had signed up for the class just because I was interested in it, and then along the side we're trying to start something up. And that allowed me to see, okay, these are my recipes, but what does manufacturing look like out of my Cuisinart on my kitchen counter all the way up to like a large plant.
Yes.
And so that knowledge allowed me to like utilize those resources to say, okay, how do I have to fix this and make sure that no matter whether or not it's a gallon or 1,500 gallons or however many units we're going to make, it's going to flow through properly.
Be consistent.
So,
Now we're taking a step by step. So, guys, you figure out we want to do this, we went to school. How you came up with the name, the brand? How you came up with because those for what excite me. Okay, the brand.
The marketing
name.
side of it. Let's get to marketing.
How we came up, guys, with it? Okay, so we have a product. We know our product will be very good. We know need for it. Obviously, we talk about the market. Before we talk about let's talk about the market, because actually 25% I did not know that. So it's big number. So if you can explain for us about the market.
Yeah. So when Gwen and I were doing our initial research on the size of the market, again, when entrepreneurs are excited, you have to make sure that it's something that other people want too, right?
Sure,
Product market fit.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't just my personal need. And so when we were researching, we were actually shocked to find out that 25% of Americans are lactose intolerant. And that is 3 times greater than the gluten intolerant population. So we've seen how many great gluten-free options there are. And as a lactose intolerant consumer with such sheer volume, there just has to be better products for us. So we felt, empowered to really bring a product to market to help these customers.
Sure.
Amazing.
Actually, from personal experience, I am not like this. I can't say the word even, but I can't eat the normal ice cream. I have to buy the lactose, and I try your ice cream. It's delicious.
Thank you.
So how you came up with the name? How you come up with the brand?
Yeah. So initially, when we were testing the market
Sure.
before we quit our jobs and all of that, we
Sure.
actually started at the SOA market in the South End.
Oh, cool.
And at the time, our brand name was minus the moo. And so, so in terms of marketing, Gwen isn't here, and Gwen, I am not the marketer, right? And so I will try to do this justice, and also to admit that I was 100% wrong, and Gwen was completely right that minus the moo was the wrong name. But it was like, this name that I had that just named my dream, we launched with it. And so as we started in the farmer's market, validating, do people like it? How does it taste? The name started to cause confusion. So because it wasn't dairy free, it was full of dairy.
Yeah.
And so we worked with a branding agency out in Colorado to help us rename our baby. And at that point,
Nice.
when we went through the renaming process, and I'm sure you guys can appreciate this as marketers, we were already in the market, so it felt super scary to
To switch
Big
it.
change.
to switch. It's like changing
of
your
course.
kid's name when they're already like in preschool. And so, so we worked with the Interact out in Boulder, and they helped us through like, why did we start the company? What was the inception? Like, what's our why? And all of these, great questions as to what were our customers saying. And so Beckon is your callback to real ice cream. And the reason that we named it Beckon is because that was the biggest insight, is that once people found our product, the sheer joy on their face, again, we're not saving lives here. Like, we're bringing joy to people. And so the joy on their face and the like feeling like, oh my God, there's a product for me that like other people also too are going to be excited to eat.
Yeah.
And so that's why we named it Beckon, to welcome those customers back to
Amazing.
ice cream.
So tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, was one challenge, was the marketing piece of it and changing that. What other things did you run into early on in the process that were challenges, if you will?
How much time do you have? I mean, when you're doing something for the first time, it's always, there's a million and one challenges. I would say in the early days, the biggest challenges were kind of around like figuring out how to get into this industry and the ins and outs of it. Gwen didn't come from food. I didn't come from food, and neither of us were entrepreneurs before. So something as simple as like making sure that you have a bank account and QuickBooks set up from inception to not have to unwind that later. Like all of those sort of little things in the beginning. But Gwen and I'll never forget, like we dumped out our bank accounts, credit card and pray in the beginning. And we started out a Commonwealth Kitchen, and we're trying to get the business going just to get to the first farmer's market. And we had bought this batch freezer. I think it was like $8,000. It felt like so much at the time. And we were like, yes, we did it. And then we realized that we didn't have enough money for ingredients. and we had built this like financial model. We were so proud of ourselves. We had like this 40-page business plan, and we're like, well, we're idiots. Like, we literally didn't like account for the fact that like we needed to have money for ingredients. So I think in the beginning it was really that. And at every size of the business, it's still kind of something new. Is just,
of course,
you only know what you know or you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And I'm trying to think of like other challenges in the beginning.
Well, what advice would you give to overcome those challenges? Like, what's your recommendation to say, if you come across something like this, how do you go about it? Like, what advice would you give other business owners that are starting out, that are coming across stuff that is like, holy moly, like what?
Yeah. I guess like practical advice would be, try to build the bike as much as you can before you get on it to ride it. And actually a company that they didn't end up making it, they were in the kitchen, and they gave us that advice. And, they were further along than us, and we felt like, we really want to get there. And that was advice that they said to us, and we've taken with us for really basically since that day. This was over 6 years ago. And then the other thing is that build it with the end in mind. Yeah. So we have always wanted to be a grocery store business. Like, we've always wanted to be there for the customer in the aisle, to be able to pick up that pint of ice cream or quart or snack pack, whatever product that we're offering. And so that's allowed us to be laser focused on what opportunities we say yes to and what we say no to, because there is a lot that could come down, and there's a lot of noise. And so not staying focused can waste cash, like human resources and just in time. And so I think that that's been incredibly helpful for us to stay focused on who we want to be when we grow up. But emotionally, I would say for entrepreneurs, you have to develop thick skin real quick, and just have to be able to get up and get out of bed and like put your feet on the ground to start the day with whatever is motivating you inside. And so I think that if it's money that you're in it for, find something else, because like there, you know, the money hopefully comes as collateral with success, but that's not necessarily going to be there in the beginning. And so I think whatever it is that is inspiring someone to start it, like stay really close to the core as to why you got there in the first place.
And actually, this is a good
Amazing.
advice, because actually, even when we work with people, if some people coming for the money only for marketing, we don't take actions in business.
Yeah.
We don't deal with, because if you only for the money, really just do something different, because
You're not
gonna
gonna
have
offer
success.
quality. You're not gonna
offer
have-
quality. You're not gonna have success,
Yeah.
because the end goal, it should be about like the money is gonna come sooner or later, and that's what we believe. When the money
Yeah.
comes sooner or later, if you do good job, the money is. But if you are in the money, this are great tips actually, because I feel people with. This is why a lot of businesses fail. I feel because they are on it just for the money. I want to make money right now. I'm not thinking about the next 3 months, 4 months. So it's a great advice. Advice. So, but let's talk about the industry, Labia, because I feel this is like it's big challenge, especially when you, like big company like Jay and all those big companies,
Ben
and
and
there's the
Jerry's,
ice
yeah.
cream. It's
Yeah.
very big industry. So how you small company like start business is gonna break through. So how guys how it's a challenge. It's no doubt about a challenge. So how you doing it, guys? How you breaking it through?
It is such a challenge, right? This is like the big question, how to break through. And it starts for us with making sure that we know who our customer is, right? We have to be targeted to who they are. They are people like me. They're lactose intolerant consumers, their friends, their family, people who are interested in gut health. And, you know, we have all these concentric circles outside of who our core target is. And as a small company, we have to be really scrappy with and budget conscious to make sure that our dollars are going as far as they possibly can. So we're trying to punch way above our weight class. You know, now with being in Whole Foods nationwide, we're in Sprouts chain-wide. We just launched in Kroger this week.
Oh,
we
nice.
launched in Walmart.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we're really now like trying to punch above our weight class. But it's incredibly challenging because, you know, a business, especially an inventory-based business, has a lot of cash constraints. And so for us, it's being authentic to who we are, to telling our story and making sure that customers know there are people, like, we started this, Gwen and I are friends, like, she's not lactose intolerant, and
Yeah.
she gave up her whole life basically
Yeah.
for this. And so, and I did too, and because we believe in it. And so I think there's the part of being authentic, and then there's a part of being as efficient on shelf as we possibly can be. And just with, you know, help with people like you who are helping us tell our story.
Yeah, amazing. So the other questions I have is, you know, what surprised you most about building this business?
What surprised me most? I guess how much. There's a couple of things. In the beginning, and still now, how much there is to learn. Entrepreneurs are insatiable learners, right? Like you just
have
have
to
that
be.
thing, right?
Yeah,
That you just
have to
always
be.
want to be learning. And so how much there is to learn, how much we've learned. Even now, I'm like shocked that I had another career, I guess, at one point. I sometimes forget about that. I think that how kind and how kind of pay it forward the food industry is. Like we've had the pleasure of speaking with a ton of entrepreneurs who have been there before us that the fact that they're willing to take time out of their day to then give us advice and share where it is that they've been has been amazing. And Gwen and I have tried to do that as well. Gwen and I's partnership has been one of the best pieces of this, you know, like starting a business with someone. It's like getting married, and and it's just been a wonderful experience to be able to build this. And I guess how hard it is and how much pain we can both take has also been a little surprising.
Yeah.
So how you come up between you and Gwen? Because I'm sure you guys you have different opinion. I'm sure how you guys decided this. Like because between me and Stefanie, like we discussed a lot of stuff. I don't want to do it this way. No, I think this is the right way. So how you guys do it?
How do you come to that happy medium?
Yeah, I think that if you're not having, I guess, challenging conversations, you're probably not pushing each other hard enough, right? Not to say that, like, partnerships should be adversarial. I'm not saying that, but I just don't think that, like, it should be everybody's on the same page all the time, right? Because it's like you're trying to build something that's never been there before. So there's going to be questions and people have different experiences and different opinions, but it just comes down to respect. Like when we have a conversation, it's not me versus her. It's us trying to figure this out together and making sure that whenever we're having those conversations, that that's the point of view and the position that we are starting from helps any conversation move it forward. Because it does feel like we're in the trenches together, and like we're not gonna turn on each other. We're not gonna get through this if we're not gonna get through it together. And so having that mindset has allowed us to get through really difficult times. I mean, changing the brand name, we were on opposite sides of that table for a really long time, and that was probably, I think, the first big piece of the business that we had to really figure out and work through, and that taught us a lot about resolution and getting to
so
where
now
we need to be.
this actually brings me for another question, because obviously you own women-owned business.
Yes.
This comes by itself a huge challenge. So how guys you dealing with this? Do you see any benefit of it? Do you see is no benefit of it? Because like Stefanie, obviously she owned a women-owned business, and she faced a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
So how you come over these challenges? How you deal with it? Or do you see a benefit of it?
I was going to say, to your question, do you see a benefit of it? Okay. The benefit of it is that more women just have to be starting businesses.
Sure.
So that's the benefit, right? Like, we're here to just do it, right? Yes, I am here for the customer. That's why I started. But the other side, the days that I have the hard time getting up, because there are those days. It's like you've been knocked a couple of times and you have to look in the mirror. It's like, okay, I really believe in more diverse founders and teams and leaders. And I just believe that anybody should be able to wake up and say, if I want to do something and I am tenacious and I have a really good reason for being and for doing this, there shouldn't be so many barriers. So the way that we are going to get through that is by having more people change what the view, whether conscious or subconscious, of success looks like. I would say statistics are obviously against us. And when you're starting a business, you're climbing Everest. There's no way around it. Like, you just are, and you're going to get knocked back a million times. And so we're starting with like a heavier load on our back. And less than 3% of venture capital goes to female-founded teams. Less than 2% of female-founded businesses ever make it to $1 million in revenue or more. Like, 7%, I believe, of male-founded teams make it to $1 million or more. So, like, straight out the gate, when we're talking about CPG companies that are incredibly capital-intensive, it's really hard to make sure that we don't die on the vine with our great product, great idea, great product-market fit, because capital and cash flow, especially in an inventory-based business, is incredibly stressed. So it is challenging. In terms of benefits, I think there's been an awakening of the lack of diversity in diverse teams that's out there, and so companies are starting to try to make that shift. But the statistics, and I like math and I like science, like that 2% of female-founded teams making to $1 million in revenue or more hasn't changed in 25 years. And so I want to see, in a short term, that changes.
And it's not going to change very short. It's not going to
short term, like by the time that, like, I leave this planet, right? So, and it, because it has to, and I think that the way that it will is like with more successful females, we can then turn around and invest in more females and diverse teams, because like we believe that it can be done.
Yeah, but I think I don't want to talk
it's a
for
really great
female,
point.
but I think a lot of challenges.
Of course.
A lot comes with challenges, because we say something, but the culture doing something else, what the belief doing something else. So it's a lot of challenge. I don't want to talk for female.
But I think that's a great point, though. I think you have an excellent point that I think as more women become successful and they're in these roles and they have the means and they have the opportunity and they have the financial backing, they can continue to support other women entrepreneurs and business owners.
You make a statement. Okay, just to see what we can do.
Boom.
Boom. See
Take
what
that.
we can do.
Let's do it. And also, too, I think just people need to be aware of it. And I was speaking with somebody yesterday. I came from nursing, which is very predominantly female.
Sure.
It did not occur to me when I made a career shift that it would be I would be in the minority, right? And that my challenges would be what they have been. We've had great supporters, but there's no doubt about it. Like, we were in a pitch once for investment, and we opened up Q&A, and the first question or the first comment after the pitch was, well, you're better to look at than Ben and Jerry. And it's like that sort of stuff, like, it is what it is. Everybody has their own story. Everybody's going to face some sort of adversity, but to your point, it's like we then have to turn around so that like that doesn't happen, because it's like you should just be listening to me and knowing that I have something to say and I have something to build. And if you want to get on board with this, join me. Happy to have you. But if not, get out of my way.
Yeah.
And shut up and sit down and like go over in the corner, right?
Yeah.
And so
Amazing.
I think that there's a good shift here, and I really want to help empower that momentum.
I
amazing.
hope so. Now,
I was going to ask about your support system.
Yeah.
So, who is your support? Is it friends and family? I'm sure there's, building a business, it takes an army. It really does. And so, you're in the front lines, but you have, typically a lot of people have people behind them, helping and supporting. So who's your support?
And I will say, like, in terms of, females and facing that adversity, I hit the lottery with like a support system, and I am so grateful for that. My husband is he's been amazing, like, throughout this whole process. When you start a business, your partner, they're in it, whether they want it to be, like, they're in it every day. And so he's been phenomenal. And, Gwen's partner as well has just been amazing. So Gwen and I obviously are each other's support system. First and foremost, our spouses, and then our friends and family, like my family and Gwen's family and our friends. When we were starting in Commonwealth Kitchen, to all of my friends out there, if you listen to this, please do. But my mom would come after work. She would drive up from North Attleboro after working a full day, meet me in the kitchen on Thursday nights, work until 11 o'clock with me, drive home, drop me off, drive home to North Attleboro. My parents and our friends and Gwen's family, they would come up and work with us all day on Saturday, and then on Sunday, work at the farmer's market with us.
Oh, wow.
And so I have used up all of my favors for the rest of eternity. And even like we were doing the snack cup launch, and we ended up having like this major challenge with production. I posted on my Instagram, like, if you want to come and help us with the snack pack project, like, we'll be here. And the amount of people that responded, it is amazing, like, how many people, even if they're in my immediate network of like, I'm having like the real bad day, like my college girlfriends and my girlfriends from high school, like, sometimes we'll just send a text and be like, it's we call it the round table, and we'll be like, okay, we need to have words of affirmation at the round table, and we'll just all like fire off like, this is why you're amazing and you're amazing, and like then you could just kind of go on with your day. So I am really fortunate that way to have amazing friends and family, and then also 2 other entrepreneurs, like the 88 Acres team, Rob and Nicole. They're like our ride or die. We can text them at any time. And there's just a lot of other really great founders, and our board and our investors and just our retail partners. I just feel very fortunate, clearly, because now I've gone on way too long about this, but feel very fortunate about the support system that we do have to face our challenges. Yeah.
Amazing.
So now, what do you think is the number one reason for success or your growth? Because I'm sure, guys, can you tell us the growth percentage over you so far, and where you see yourself going? But what's the reason behind your success?
Oh, what is the reason behind our success?
Obviously, the product make a huge difference.
Huge difference, right? The product, and we are the first premium real dairy lactose-free ice cream on the market. So like this is a need, it's clearly there, and we're filling it. So that is a huge reason for our success. I think that Gwen and I talk about this sometimes. It's like, sometimes you just have to like make your own luck and stay alive. And so just continuing to be tenacious and face each challenge and just get through each hurdle, which sometimes, like, dear universe, I really wish you would throw me a couple less. Like, please do if you're listening. But getting through each hurdle and just like still being here and learning has also allowed us to be successful. So just you can't just face something and then just expect it not to happen again. We have to continue to make sure that we're optimizing, learning, and just being as efficient as we possibly can.
So now, through your business right now, because I see you online in the stores and online in the stores, yes, and people they can buy in like an instant card and all these places. Instacart.
Yeah.
So where are you seeing the most impact of your business right now?
So again, we're a grocery-based
first,
business,
yes.
and so for us, it's all about launching new doors and new products.
Sure.
And we have also been really thoughtful about our growth to make sure that we're not getting too far over our skis, which the pandemic obviously stressed that for everybody because it put a massive supply chain challenge on the entire industry. And the repercussions of that, we're still feeling. We've learned a lot from it. But we try to make sure that we have the right products on the right shelves at the right price at the right time. And so we started in the natural channel, and now we're moving into conventional. We started in pints, had quarts, snack packs. And so we're just trying to make sure that as we are growing, whatever customer is coming to the grocery store with whatever product and need that they have for their indulgent moment, that we will be able to fulfill their need over time. And so we're doing that in a methodical way as we continue to move forward.
So now actually you mentioned something I want to ask about.
Yeah.
How you come up with the price? Because the price model, because I think this one a challenge for every business owner, entrepreneur. Okay, how I price something? Because I want to price it for $10,000, but I know I can say, but how I can price it for the higher price? Because competition, especially when bigger company, the prices probably is different.
Yeah,
they can go lower prices because they have the value, they have everything. So how you come up with the price?
So this also goes back to your question earlier about in the beginning, what are the challenges, and learning the industry is part of it. In grocery, there's pretty much like an average or a cap that customers are going to be willing to pay. Sure. You might be able to get over that hurdle, but most products cannot. So even though we're a premium product, we're super clean label, there is still an amount that customers are going to feel comfortable spending for a pint of ice cream. And so we start there. And so we start with what is the customer willing to pay? Because I would love to be able to have more breathing room and space to be able to grow the business. But we also, by being an inclusive ice cream, it has to be an inclusive price point. So we don't want to also price our customers who need this product out of the category. It is meant for everybody. And so we start there, and then we back into all of the different pieces that go into getting this product to shelf, which most customers probably don't even realize. It's not just making the product and then shipping it there. Yeah. There's a lot of middlemen. There's a lot of transportation. We have to move pints of frozen ice cream across the entire United States. And so we have to work really hard to make sure not only just the price and like what's on our P&L statement makes sense, but also to the APAR and inventory equation makes sense. We're an inventory-based business, and so cash flow and timing is also a huge part of how we think about what can the business afford, what margin makes sense, and where are we going to spend the dollars once they've come in.
So when you say inventory-based business, this means, because I think we work with a few clients of us where I think this is the same what you mean, and you have to put your product. You're not going to get paid until you sell the product.
Correct,
that's what it is. This is a big challenge.
Huge challenge.
A huge challenge, yes.
We have to build the inventory. If you build it, they will come. Well, if you build it, they will come, but a long time later. And so you have to build the inventory so far in advance of when we actually get paid. It's upside down, right? Yes. In the way that people would probably think about selling a product and how long it takes that cash to convert. So that's something that also, too, is just really important when you're starting out. Do you want to be an e-commerce based business? You can get cash that day. Like, how do you want to fund your cash flow cycle, and what does that really look like and mean to you, and what does that mean for how you can grow? So that's been important for us.
And so now the challenge to come back, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs would be interested to hear this. Guys, how you get an investor? Looks like you do have an investor right now, yes? This is, I think, massive challenge also.
Yeah. A lot of people, obviously, a lot of businesses need money, and it's very difficult to get investors.
It is. I think the biggest thing is, and when I've talked to other entrepreneurs and just had, kind of more one-on-one conversations, but the funding plan and the capital plan, I think automatically people assume like maybe Shark Tank or something. Like it's going to come from an individual.
Mm-hmm.
But the capital strategic plan has to match the business's goals.
Sure.
So because if someone's going to give you their hard-earned money, they want some money in return. And so how do you prove that concept of how are they going to get it back? Is it, you're raising kind of a debt capital structure where they're going to gain interest, and that's exciting for them because that changes the archetype of like who it is that you're speaking to. Are you just going after a bank? Are you going after grants? What is it that you're actually trying to do with your business, and what capital resources make sense to help fund that business? So that's how we've kind of come up with our plan as to how we're funding our business and what growth looks like for us.
Sure.
But for anybody who's thinking about it, it has to make sense. If you want to have a business for 100 years and you want to pass it down, within your family, raising capital from investors probably doesn't make sense because how are they going to get their money back? It might if you have great profits that you can share back or something like that. But yeah, I think that is the first place to start.
So you talk about success. What success looks like for you?
Yeah. Someone actually just asked me this question, and I have to say I hadn't really thought about it. And I've been, as many times as I've been asked this, I'm always surprised that I don't have an answer ready to go because why am I getting up every day, I guess. But success for me at the end of the day, no matter what, if this product can live beyond me and Gwen and I being in control of it, and this product is going to be available for customers and for their friends and for their family, and that they no longer feel like they have to sacrifice on something as simple as having ice cream, I will feel that we did what we set out to do. So we really want to make sure that we are creating inclusive products for everybody.
Okay.
Amazing.
Now, do you have one question?
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so actually I do have a few questions.
Yeah.
For you, because I think those probably people want to know. So how we can, because you said you're married, yes?
I'm what?
You're
I'm married.
Yes.
Married or mad?
Married.
Married? Yes.
Married.
See,
Okay.
this is what the accent comes
That's
with there.
okay.
So my
Also, too,
question.
I'm a Bostonian and I'm terrible, and I'm hard of hearing, so my vocabulary is different. Yeah.
It's okay. This was the challenge, like how we can manage your life with business, because this is massive a challenge. This was a challenge.
Yeah, especially when your business is consuming so much time.
So much time.
Yeah.
How you manage your life, personal life, you know, family life.
Oh, and I should have mentioned earlier too, I did recently over the last year, I started working with an executive coach. So in terms of support system and that question of balance, that's something that I have reached outside of my immediate friends and family to try to find that answer. I don't know, I'm not sure how you guys feel about this. It's not always just the hours that you're working, because people sometimes will be like, how many hours do you work a week? It's like that changes. It's just, it's always on my mind. It's all consuming all the time. And so I don't like the word balance because it feels unachievable. But for me, I refuel and recharge by having quiet time with my family and with my husband and our dog. We live in Charlestown, and just having that time after work. And he has a big job. He works all the time too. And so I think making sure that whenever it is that we want to set a boundary, that we set it really hard. So if we're going to do something on the weekend, we hold each other accountable for oh, I see you're doing emails. No. And being just really thoughtful about, are we on the same page? The pandemic's kind of helped with that, because we used to travel a lot. I don't even know sometimes where I was going, but I was on a plane I lived at Logan. I was on a plane every week. And so that has helped kind of center both of us a lot, and just to be able to be in the same place. But yeah, I don't have a perfect answer other than the fact that it is your life, and it has to stay at the forefront. That's been the one constant for Gwen and I, that this cannot come at the cost of the people that we love most. And also too, the love of ourselves. If we start to self-destruct over this, then I'm not going to be able to deliver what my vision of success is anyway. So that self-care and making sure that burnout doesn't get so far beyond repair, it's something I've had to work, quite frankly, really hard at.
Okay. So where you see your brand in the next 5 years? And I know this cheesy question. I don't like those questions.
No.
But where you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Worldwide domination, obviously. No.
Ice creams everywhere.
Everywhere. 5 years from now, my dream would be that you can find Beckon everywhere that you want to buy ice cream. Whenever that moment comes, you can find it. And that the stigma around lactose-free products, that they're going to taste not as great, because lactose-free it's dairy, just without lactose. It's not like it's not nut-free, meaning it has no nuts, or gluten-free and it has no gluten or no wheat, or the thing of whatever it is that made it in the first place. You can have your cake and eat it too. So it doesn't taste different. So I would just love 5 years from now for people to be ecstatic to just indulge in the way that they're going to be able to have everything they want without any of the consequences that they don't, and that there's no question about whether or not it's going to taste great, because we've proven to the customer and delivered on that promise over and over and over again that they will not be sacrificing or compromising.
Amazing.
What's
your favorite flavor?
Now
I want ice
favorite
cream.
child, right? I think. All right, the peanut butter cup is my favorite.
Oof, that sounds delicious already.
I love it. It's so good. And we actually partnered with Unreal Snacks, who's based in Boston as well. And we're cup cycling their peanut butter cups in our products to help save food waste. So that's something that I'm just really proud of, that initiative that we've worked on together. But then my second favorite and my legacy favorite is sea salt chocolate chip, because it was a mistake. I added too much salt into a batch once. And we were at the SOA market, thought I was going to have to trash it, and, went for a walk, thought about it, and was like, all right, Gwen, let's just put some chocolate chips in it. We'll call it sea salt chocolate chip. We'll one-off it. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake, and we'll never see it again. And it's been our bestseller pretty much ever since that day.
Amazing.
So when life gives you lemons or sea salt,
I do have a question actually to go for with the business bag. Where you get your supplies from? From where?
Our supplies, so do you mean like our ingredients?
Ingredients, like locally, organic?
So now that we're bigger, we do have a wider sourcing network, but primarily the majority of our products do come from the United States, because we're a dairy-based product. So we're working with farmers all throughout the country. And then our biggest thing about sourcing ingredients is we're trying to get the highest quality ingredients that still allow us to have the best possible price for the customer that we can. So if you look at the back of our label, it's so simple. There's no guar gum, there's no xanthan gum, there's no carrageenan. And so for us, from a sourcing perspective, we try to make sure that we're working with as many great companies throughout the country as possible to get in those raw materials.
And this actually brings us for another question I had. What's the difference between if I have to lock this product from me, what you probably make it different? Like, why your product is gonna be, pizza, it's pizza, but somebody has it in their own way. So why your product is different from anybody else?
From anybody else in terms of just lactose free?
Yes, like you're talking about you don't have any chemical. What?
Yeah, no gum stabilizers, additives. So the largest nationally distributed lactose-free product is an economy-style ice cream, and so that means that it has a ton of air in it. It has corn syrup in it. It has xanthan gum. It has carrageenan. It has guar gum. If you literally sat ours next to each other, it would be like saying Turkey Hill and Haagen-Dazs taste the same. Like they don't. There's just no way. Our product is a French custard-style ice cream. It has egg yolks in it, and it's just gonna deliver that like really clean, mouthfeel that you expect from a creamy, delicious ice cream. Amazing. So it has a refreshing quality to it.
Okay, amazing. I don't have any more questions.
I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us on beckonicecream.com, and so all of the great retailers that we're working with throughout the country. So we just launched in Kroger and Walmart. We're nationwide with Whole Foods, and we're in Sprouts as well as some great independent markets. So you can find our list at beckonicecream.com, as well as we do have an e-commerce. We do sell products online, so you can get it shipped right to your door. And then for updates, follow us at Beckon Ice Cream.
Amazing.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. I always say us as if Gwen's here with me. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Founder Thought. You can find more episodes wherever you listen to podcasts or on the web at founderthought.com. Founder Thought is a production of Pepper Gang.